All right, Trader B here. Welcome to the Gann Foundations Course. I'm very excited to take you through this program because the end result for you is you'll finally have the basics required to start decoding Gann and your market cycles. I remember when I was in your shoes, it's very frustrating to want something so badly and at the same time have no clue whatsoever about how to do it. Most people, including myself, when we actually get interested in Gann, we begin to search for the holy grail system, an indicator or some big secret that's going to reveal the future. We don't even know what we're really looking for. It's like not knowing what address to put down in the GPS, so you kind of start roaming around hoping you'll find it. And obviously that's not going to work. Here's what I figured. If you can't read Gann's books and understand what he's saying, not everything, but even a huge majority of what he's saying, then it's unlikely you'll understand the system. That makes sense, right? But our greed as humans blinds us of that reality. We just want a quick fix, a shortcut, a hack, or preferably an indicator who does all the work for us. If it was just that easy, everyone would have figured it out. So in this program, I'm going to give you the essential background knowledge that's required to figure out the market cycles so you can begin to decode your own markets and put the puzzle together for yourself. This has taken me a decade of my life to figure out, and I'm going to openly share what I've learned so you can benefit. So if you're wondering if this is a good investment, get ready, because in this program I'm going to share everything I've learned about Gann over the past decade. And I intend to use these exact videos to teach my children and my grandchildren and hopefully pass it down. So rest assured you're getting everything. So stop looking for more indicators or programs or gurus and get focused. I'm going to give you everything. Take your time to thoroughly go through the material and then begin to do the work. Okay, so a little bit about myself. I go by the name B. It's just a nickname I've given to myself. The reason I choose to use like a pen name is because we live in a time where everyone and everything is so public because of social media, and I just enjoy my privacy. That's it. I'm very old school like that. I currently live in Toronto, Canada, well, near Toronto, Canada, and previously I was living in Manchester, UK. Anyways, I started trading back in 2010. As soon as I became aware of things called markets, I instantly knew this is what I wanted to do, just because of the potential of how much money you could earn. The journey has been extremely painful, to say the least. I've been scammed so many times I've lost count. I've spent over $50,000 in hard cash to try to learn trading. Half of it was borrowed and the other half I was working a job to pay off to pursue my dream. The first 3 years were extremely painful. I was losing money left and right, and I didn't even know what I was doing. And I've been through all the forums, the indicators, all the settings, the books, the seminars, one secret after another, one lie after another. I've tried the signal services. I've tried automated bots. I've pretty much tried it all. I've literally done it all. Ultimately, Gann made sense even though I didn't know what he was doing. There was just a sense of comfort because he sounded so certain about the markets. And the markets are exactly the opposite. They look like chaos. So I spent about 7 years studying Gann. Again, that's another painful cycle. 99% of the material out there is complete garbage, in my opinion. It's just complete garbage. It's misleading. The worst part of it all is that you don't even know that when you're stuck in the loop. You're losing money, and more importantly, you're losing time. Ultimately, I just had a feeling that, you know what, if I was going to figure out the markets, it was going to be through Gann or something like Gann. It was just a feeling when I got started. And if I was going to spend so much time, I wanted to know that it was going to be worth it. So I'd say all my breakthrough ultimately came because I just refused to give up. I think I've developed the quality of being persistent and patient. I knew that I wasn't going to figure it out overnight. I knew that it would take a long, long time, and I just refused to give up. And eventually, just staying persistent, trying all these different things, learning from all these different sources, and just keep pushing forward. Eventually, it just cracked. And there's obviously some luck involved. And when I was doing my research and when I was going through all the material, there's a couple of codes that resonated with me that kept me going. And it said, if you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, only then will you be successful. And when I asked myself that, am I willing to do whatever it takes to win? And for me, the answer was always a resounding yes. I've hung in there. I've kept trying things. I've kept reading the books. And even knowing a lot of the Gann material was kind of like BS out there, I still went to many of the different courses to see what they were up to, if I could piece it together, if I could get some ideas, if I could find some new connection that I wasn't able to make myself. And I've been to those seminars where I've paid $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, and I came out with a binder full of cherry-picked trades that I could not replicate. Ultimately, the only thing that kept me going was I knew it was possible. I just had to put in the time. And then there's another quote that I really like. It says, "Those who say it cannot be done should not interrupt those doing it." And I somehow classified myself as the one who was doing it, right? And I just needed to put in the time. Obviously, there's a lot more to the story, and I'll keep sharing some of my experiences throughout the lessons so you can benefit. But that's a little bit about me and about my mindset. I just never took no for an answer. I didn't take losing as an option. I'm like, you know what, I'm going to figure this out. Okay, so how is this training designed? So originally when I came out with the course, it was one course. It had about 30 lessons. It was going to take about 2 years to go through, and I would teach you everything you needed to know. It's the only way I knew how I could add tremendous value to the true seekers, and it was also a way to keep the people out who didn't want to do the work. I personally prefer to know the big picture, then I need to know the details. It's like building a puzzle. I want to build out the corners first, and then I want to slowly build to the center. It's the only way I know. Only way I know how. I need to know all the details, and I thought I'd make a program for others just like that. But I got a lot of requests from people saying, "Hey, can we make the course either shorter? Can you teach it to me faster? Could I just do like a one-on-one?" I'm like, you know what? There's no way I could realistically teach it to you in a way that you could apply it. Obviously, I could teach it to you. I could just regurgitate and spit out what needs to be done, but it's unlikely you'll be able to make it work. We could do it fast. We could definitely do it in 3 days and 5 days, but you'll never make it work because this takes time. And so my thought was that I'd give you everything in one big course. Slowly, you'll work through it together. You can ask me questions, and I could tell you what I've done and how to figure it out. And what I was going to do is I was going to teach you through LOV. I was going to decode a market for you so you could start trading it, and then at the same time keep working on the cycles because it pays to know the whole picture. LOV made a lot of sense. LOV makes a lot of sense after you've done Astro, not so much without it. So the first course is based on astro cycles. I call it the Gann Foundations Course. It's going to take approximately 6 months to cover the material in a way where you can take the material, go through the material, understand it, and start applying it. It's very important you apply the material because when you apply the material, you start making connections that lead you down the path, or you're not making the connections and you don't know what's going on, and you have someone you can ask questions to. So in this course, I'm going to give you the knowledge. Your job is to use it. I'm going to show you the path, and you're expected to walk down to your destination. The second course is the LOV system, what I call the Cycles Decoder system. And this is what Gann used later in his life. This system, I can teach it to you in 1 day. I know. Only if I could teach and learn everything in 1 day, what a miracle. But this only makes sense if you've been through these astro cycles, and because the system is based on math and geometry, and that math and geometry is covered in the astro course. So once you've been through it here, when you come down to here, you already know what's going on, and I could teach it to you in 1 day, and within like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you'll be up and running. That's how powerful the LOV system is. But the astro cycles, that takes quite a lot of time to make it work because you're building the foundation. The LOV is very easy once it's known. It's ridiculous to the point where you're like, why did I not think of this? Again, I can't teach it to you outright because it won't make sense. You'll have a lot of questions, and even some of your limitations will hold you back from using it or trusting the data. So the natural progression for you is to work through the cycles, understand them, and trade them. And then you can learn the system behind the Astro, which is LOV, and more. And if you find good value in this course, I highly encourage you to take that course as well. Originally, I was going to enforce it as one big package, but now it's optional. The reason is because I can show you how to decode the cycles in a couple of hours with LOV, and you can start trading with a 70% system. And then 2 to 3 weeks after refining the material and going through the charts, you can probably bring it up to like a low to mid 80s. In terms of accuracy, but you need to spend time to figure out the markets. The more time you spend with it, the more you can make it work for you. There's an art and science behind this. You need to learn the art yourself. What do I mean by that? What I mean is what I mean is that you need to understand your market so well, it's almost intuitive what's about to happen, when inversions will occur, what prices is it going to vibrate to. It's like once you have the cycle knowledge and you've spent the right amount of time on the charts, you're going to start to develop a feel for this for your markets. It's almost like falling in love with a woman. You want to know everything about her. What are her patterns? What makes her happy? What makes her sad? Similarly, using the same analogy, you want to know what your resonant market, what makes it happy or sad, meaning when do trends start, when does it go sideways, when is it likely to crash, what prices are important, and all that kind of stuff. And you need to kind of develop a relationship with your market. It's a unique lens when you're coming towards the markets with this. It's not just black and white, binary 1 and 0, any market, any time frame, just use the exact same system. It's not like that. We're gonna teach you to find a couple of markets that are truly resonant with you, and you're going to know everything about these markets, and then you're going to do the cycle work. You're going to spend a lot of time looking at the charts, and you're going to figure out the cycles, and then you're going to get into this like flow. You'll start feeling your market. It's words every Gann trader says, I kind of know what's about to happen, just because you have the knowledge to do that. And it takes a lot of time and experience to make it happen, but you will get to that point. So LOV was my way to guarantee that you're going to make it through. The astro cycle does take a tremendous amount of time. It took me about a year and a half to decode my primary cycle, just because I was using brute force. I was using a mathematical approach. I didn't have all the answers from Tunnel. It's very, personally, I found it very complicated to find all the answers, but mathematically, I knew that if 2 plus 2 is 4, and Tunnel tells you that it's 2 and 2 that equals 4. The way I approach it from a mathematical perspective is simple algebra. If I know the end result is 4, let me see all the possible combinations that could give me 4. If it's if there's 2 variables, for example, so is it 0 plus 4 equals 4? Is it 1 plus 3? Is it 2 plus 2? Is it 3 plus 1? Or is it 4 plus 0? Let me just try all the combinations. Something's bound to work, because if the end result I have, I can work my way backwards. Now, it's not the smartest way to go about doing this. I can tell you that, because of the amount of time that went into this and the amount of patience that's required. But hey, if given the option of not knowing what the answer is or putting in a stupid amount of time to figure it out, I just opted to put in the time, because I'm like, you know what, I'll just outwork everybody else. I'm just going to figure it out. You know what, if it's going to take me 6 months, be it the case, I'm going to sit down, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm going to try everything I can. I kind of had an idea, because I did spend a bunch of time on Tunnel, so I have an idea of the cycles. There's no real way of confirming it without knowing if you're on the right track. I asked a senior Gann trader, I'm like, how do I know if I've got a cycle? He's like, well, either it's going to work for you, or it's going to feel like you're smoking crack. You have no idea. And it's very confusing. Anyways, we'll talk about this more later, but right now we're focused on the Gann Foundations course, and let's see what else we have here. So Gann had 3 systems. He had a mechanical system, that's what he used earlier in his life. Then he had an astrology and astronomy system. These are the cycles. And ultimately he graduated into the LOV system. And when he went here, in his works, he mentions that I no longer use astrology. I use it directionally. I kind of have it there, but I use an LOV system. And that's the reason why I never thoroughly decoded Tunnel, because I'm like, hey, well, if there's another system, and that's what he used at the end, probably more accurate, probably more easier to trade with, and all that good stuff. I'm like, you know what, if there's a mathematical system, that's what I want to go. And then I kind of started working on LOV. So what I can help you with is everything that I found so far in my research with these 2 systems. And if you're interested, I'm happy to share everything I know. Okay, so let me give you the most value upfront. This is the big secret. This is what everyone's looking for. This is what you've been looking for. This is what I've been looking for. You know, spending thousands of dollars in courses, books, seminars, struggles, you know, putting our relationships at risk, everything. What is it that we've been sacrificing for? This is it. What I want to do is I want to give you, it's like in the movies, right? I'm going to show you the end, and then we're going to work our way towards the end. So it's a glimpse. I'm going to show you what the end result looks like, what's required to get there. And then throughout the lessons, I want you to start thinking how you're going to use the material in the upcoming lessons to build this picture. Okay, so let's go. We have, here's a big secret. Tunnel Through the Air has cycles coded into the book. That's a given. And your job is to figure out these cycles. So you have to read the book, and there's ways to figure out the cycles. We'll talk about that later as well. So let's take an example. Let's say there's a cycle that's 540 degrees of Mars. That's given to us. You figured it out. You either did it reading tunnel, or you get through sheer brute force, you came up with a number and you know it's going to work. Okay, so the next thing is we want to use a cycle, and the first thing we want to do is we want to forecast time, and that's to determine the harmonics of a high-low, high-low, high-low system, right? Once you have that, you want to forecast price, and each market has a unique square or wheel. That's the important thing to know. It's an interesting nuance if you don't know how the pricing system works. Once you have the cycle, then you go to time, and then you use the same cycle parameters. And then you want to go look at the price system. Now, I have time elements figured out for my market, and obviously there's a whole lesson on this. And I know how price is figured out, but I still haven't done the work to the point where I'm very, very confident that I have the right thing. And I'll still show you what I know. So if you have ideas or you know where you're going with this, you can run with what I've researched so far. The only thing is I'm more focused on LOV and the law of vibration way of figuring out time and price. So I haven't figured out the astro, but I'll show you what's required because I'm almost there with the astro side of things as well. So let's look at an example. First, to forecast time, here's how it works. If we want to forecast our market, say we take the ES, we want to take all the dates on the calendar for any specific year, and I just took 2011 here, and I've plotted it all the way down. Then what you want to do is we're going to plot the cycle data right here. And cycle data is essentially astro cycles moving around in a circle or rather an ellipse. And we want to calculate the longitude of that. And we're going to correlate the longitude with the date so we know where the cycle is on what date. Then the third thing we need to do is we want to know what the price was doing on those respective days. So for example, December 1st, 2011, we're working with 540 degree Mars. That cycle was at 325.75. It's just a number. We're just working with numbers. Now on December 1st, this was the market price. Okay, so that's what I'm doing for the ES. And you want to do that for the entire year or like 2-3 years. How much data you're going to be playing with, and you're going to plot the cycles right here, and then you're going to plot all the prices right here. Then based on the chart, you're going to go figure out all the high lows. So on a chart, you've got the high, low, you got a high, you got a low, you got a high, you got a low, you got a high, and I'm talking about the swing points. You want to see what the prices are on these swing points, and you want to highlight them on the Excel sheet. So green is high, red is low, green is high, red is low. And in this way, if we just went through the data here, you would know where all the highs and lows came out. So we're building a sheet in history to run the cycles back and forth up to the present. So we can prove that it works in the past, therefore it must work in the future because it works by law. Okay, so this data is just test data. It's not real data. I just made this up for the example, but that's how it works. This is how you're going to figure out the time. You've got your dates, you've got the cycle running, and then you plot the prices, and then you figure out the highs and lows. And what you want to do to figure out the time cycles is you want to figure out what the relationship is between the highs and the lows. The highs and lows. There's a pattern in these numbers that you're looking for that's going to repeat over and over and over again. There's two ways to do this. There's a way through tunnel. There's a way that I've figured out, which is like kind of a hack. To figure it out, reverse engineer it. The whole of 2 + 2 is 4. So what are the combinations of 4? So that's how you would figure out time. You've got dates, you've got the cycle, you've got the price. Once you've plotted it out, you've got price with time, you've got cycle with time. So you want to figure out what the cycle to price dates are, and we're looking for a repetitive cycle in repetitive pattern in cycle data that's going to project future turns. Hopefully that made sense. Don't get caught up about it too much right now. Obviously, we're going to build towards this. Second thing, how do you forecast price? So once you have the time figured out, then what you want to do for your specific market, you want to figure out the right square or the right wheel. Square is like the square of 4, the square of 9. Wheel is like the wheel of 24, wheel of 36. This is a square. Literally, here's a square, but there's the wheels. I'm sure you've all seen the wheels as well. It's the same thing, but it runs out instead of squares, it just runs out in a circle fashion. Every market has its own square or circle, and you have to figure that out through testing. And then what you want to do is based on the cycle numbers on highs and lows, you want to run that information on the square or the circle. So for example, here on this chart, I've got Mercury down here in purple. Hopefully you can see that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this cycle, meaning I'm going to keep running down each day, for example. So on the calendar, we're moving a day, and when we come to the day of the highs and the lows, we are looking for what happens with our planet. So hypothetically, in this example, if Mercury was the cause for our turning points, we want to see what Mercury is doing on the dates of the highs and lows. So if I keep using this chart, compared to here, Mercury's in the bottom right corner. If I move the chart one extra day, Mercury's moved right here. So let's move it one more day. Mercury's moved down here. Now, what's going to happen on the days of the highs and lows, this Mercury, assuming this is the planet that's causing the turns, is going to find a specific angle on your square or circle, and every time you have a turn, it's going to resonate with that angle. So it doesn't need to be on this like 45s or 90s or 45, 45, 45. It's not necessarily like one of these major angles. It could just be this angle right here. And again, this is just a demo example. It could be like every time Mercury crosses this angle right here, price will turn. There could be more than one, but from what I've seen, it's usually one or two planets vibrating in resonance with each other. So that's the basic of system that we're going to work towards. We're going to help you. We're going to work towards building you a sheet where you've got a calendar, market data, prices, and then once we figure out the time cycle, which I'm very confident I can help you do easily, then once you have that, we'll work towards getting the price solved as well. But just knowing the time cycles alone gives you a huge edge. You'll start making money. You'll have the important dates coming up. It's going to be a win-win-win, and then you can slowly work towards getting the price. I'm sure everybody's got a lot of price systems, and even though you don't, there's a couple of cool support and resistance techniques I'm going to show you that you can use to at least start trading and making money, and then you can obviously refine it to the point where you know how to call out price as well. Okay, so the last thing here is run smaller planets to find AOR. Typically, the planets that cause the price to change is the smaller planets. So that's Mercury, Venus, Mars, and the Moon. And they dance around your square or circle, forming some kind of relationship or some kind of angles, and they do the exact same thing. This happens by law. So it's going to happen over and over and over again. So each market is different. You have to figure out the cycle for each market. You have to figure out the pricing system for each market. And yeah, that's the key thing we're looking for. So just knowing this alone should give you the edge that you're looking for. If you knew now what the map looks like, it's so much easier to figure it out. Okay, I'm looking for a planet. I'm looking for a cycle for highs and lows. Once I have that, I can figure out the price. It's so much easier if you knew this. And that's the big secret. Nobody wants to tell you, hey, here's the steps. Obviously, it's a little bit more complicated than this. And there's a couple of nuances, which we'll talk about when we get into the lesson. But the high level, this is what we're looking to do. Figuring out time and price is done according to some laws. And laws, by definition, are not broken, which is why this can be so precise. And it's just going to do the same thing over and over and over and over again. Price is just going to repeat the same pattern over and over and over again. Price and time are just going to repeat over and over and over again, doing the exact same thing. That which has been will be again. That which has been done will be done again. And there is nothing new under the sun. Gann's known to have quoted this from the Bible, and that's kind of this is what it's kind of referring to. What has been will be again. So it's the cycle keeps repeating over and over again. It repeats in time and it repeats in price. Now I'm going to leave that up to you to figure out how and why this happens. Like, what's the cause? Why is there a correlation? Is it a correlation or is it causation? I'm going to leave that up to you to think about. Okay, so yeah, that's just Mercury moving around the planet. So how does the program work? Here's how it's going to work. We've got 15 lessons to go through. I'm going to send you a lesson at the top of the month, and you'll have 2 to 4 weeks to complete the lesson. The time depends on how much work is involved in completing the work. Some lessons, like lesson 1, will take 4 weeks of time for you to complete the homework, and thereafter, most lessons are 2 weeks. So that's kind of the schedule we'll be working with. Once you've completed a lesson, you'll send it back to me, and I'll review it to ensure you are on the right track. And if feedback is necessary, I'll share that with you. If you have any questions, I'll address them as well. And then I'll email you the next lesson, and that's how we're going to go through this program. There's 2 reasons why I'm doing it this way. Is one, I need you to do the work. It's the only way you'll be successful. If you just want to see it, it's not going to work. You're going to get confused. You have to go through the motions. Otherwise, it'll never make sense. You might get it intellectually because I've shown you how, but you still need to sit down and wrestle with the material and figure out what about this, what about that. And you have to go through this. It's a form of accountability, really. And if you try to do it all at once, it's not going to work. It's too much to take in. I'm telling you from experience, if you try to sit down on one time, you're like, you know what, at the end of the course, I'm just going to sit down, bang it out in one day. It's not going to happen. Okay, so the other important thing is for you to begin raising your vibration. This is something that's very, very crucial, but nobody seems to be talking about it. I'll talk a lot more about it in the actual lesson, but you need to align yourself with universal laws so you can become the type of person who can attract financial success in your life. This is such an important thing, and it's probably one of my favorite lessons because it's really tremendously helped me so much. Lesson number 1 made me profitable. Lesson number 2 made sure I remained profitable and became more and more profitable. Then we're going to jump into theory and we'll start talking about the cycles. The third thing is you want to start applying the learned knowledge to your trading immediately. Do not wait for the course to end. Even though the focus is on learning the foundation and it's going to be a bunch of theory and practice, you're still going to have some cycles that you can apply to the market immediately. I've designed it that way on purpose because you go to a lot of courses and they give you all this theory and just you don't know if you're going to figure it out or how much time is involved. And so that what I've done is lesson 6, lesson 7, and lesson 12. And I think it's 12 and 13 or 12 and 14. They're going to give you some cycles to work with, especially the solar cycles, the lunar cycles, and the market octaves. That's going to allow you to accurately time the market using alternative techniques. That's mostly based on solar and lunar, based on the solar and lunar cycles, obviously, but the octaves is based on a math system, which is very accurate for long-term trading. I personally do a lot of the trading on the daily charts and the weekly ones, which is where I'm going to show you this, and then you can figure out how to bring it intraday if that's what you're looking to do. So you're probably itching to figure out timing, but we're going to build a knowledge step by step so you have the right foundations. There's 15 lessons. You might not need all of them, but it's my job to convey it to you anyways, and go through the lessons, do the homework, and start applying it as soon as you can. I'm going to ask you that you go through the lessons and work through the material before you reach out for help. I'm dedicating 2 Saturday mornings a month to run this program. So probably the 1st and the 15th. Saturday mornings, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to go through the questions. That's where I'll be responding to questions and working on material and all that kind of stuff. But I'll be available to answer questions and to reply emails and all that good stuff. Support is only provided through email for this course. If you do not hear from me for a couple of days, nothing to worry about. Like I said, I'll be working typically on the Saturdays. Every other Saturday, I'm going to dedicate towards this. So if you have to wait a couple of days, just know it in advance. It's not like I'm hiding or anything like that. I will get around to your emails. Okay, the last thing is, during the program, I'm going to ask that you limit your Gann learning outside of this program. There's a specific path I need you to follow to be successful. And if you have other programs or books or anything else that you might be going through, you might get conflicting advice. So my signal might tell you to buy, your signal may tell you to sell. And what that does is you're confused and that you're not going to do anything. So focus on one thing at a time. This is going to take time, but you will have what it takes to figure this out. Okay, so that's all I have to say for the introduction. I hope you got a ton of value out of this video. Welcome to the program again, and I hope you're excited because I'm very excited for you. See you in lesson 1.